Hello, my wonderful students. How are you doing today? Hope you are doing great. Last week we treated about the procedure for voting and importance of election. A quick reminder of what we did. The procedure for voting includes accreditation of the registration voters card. When the voters get to the point to the polling booth, they are going to be accredited by when the official check their voters card to confirm that the person holding the voters card is the owner of the voters card in terms of not being underage, that is from age 18 and above, and so on. And they are going to announce the number of voters on the queue for record purpose so that by the time they count the ballot papers, it will not exceed those that are on the queue. Then the voters will be given the ballot paper to fill, to thumbprint on their choice party and the candidates. And as well, they will not just keep it to themselves, they must put it in the ballot boxes. Those are the processes of voting. After dropping it, they are expected not to leave the premises. The official would turn the ballot box, turn the paper on the table so that they will count the ballot box, record it, fill the necessary, announce the results, and the result will be pasted on the polling booth side. Now, the importance of election includes it enables us to choose our leaders. The democracy is being promoted, and for every bad government during election, we're able to peacefully remove them from office. These are these are so many more importance of election that we treated last week. Today, we'll be talking about electoral malpractices. Once again, electoral malpractices. And at the end of the lesson, the student should be able to explain the concept of electoral malpractices and state the forms of electoral malpractices. The electoral malpractices, it can be said to be when the normal process of election is being altered, is being interfered. Things were being done awkwardly. The political parties, the electorate, the commission, they did not follow the interest of achieving free and fair election. Then it can be said to be electoral malpractices. It can also be unapproved and unethical behavior that happens during election. Unapproved, uncalled for, unethical behavior that approved that happens during election. What are these unapproved behavior? Such as rigging, stealing of ballot boxes, and so on and so forth. The other ones that we want to look at is ways or forms of electoral malpractices. What are the things that people do that makes us to say there is electoral malpractices? Number one, we have impersonation. Impersonation. Impersonation is an English word that says that another person is claiming to be the actual person that possesses the name, the material that other person is holding. This is when you are not qualified to vote in electoral malpractices, but you came out to vote using another person's voter's registration card. This is done with the aim of rigging the election, and that is electoral malpractices because there is no free and fair election in that. Impersonation. Do you know that there was an experience of impersonation that a friend shared with me at a particular point in time. She said when she was growing up, that her parents took her to their hometown, whereby an uncle was contesting for the post of chairmanship, and they had the mind of rigging the election anyway because they know that they cannot win ordinarily. They they got a lot of voters registration cards. How they got that, God knows how. And will I say both old and young, that is underage, in as much as you are at that polling booth, they will give you voters registration card to go and vote. Unfortunately for her, the voters registration card given to her was of an 80-year-old woman. And you know accreditation will be done from the procedure for voting, whereby the official will confirm if the person holding the registration card is the actual owner of it. Come to think of it, a teenager holding the registration card of an 80-year-old woman. It was just God that saved her, because those officials, the police and the ones on ground as at that on that day, were being, being given some tips. They quickly let the person know that there is somebody there, that if the girl gets to the presence of that person, they cannot do anything. She better disappear from that area. And that was how she took to her head. Impersonation: when you are not qualified to vote, or you are using another person's voter's registration card. It is impersonation. Let's move to another way that there can be electoral malpractices. We have extension of voting periods. During the NYSC period, you know, some NYSC core members were used as INEC officials. They were paid though to go and be an INEC official in some remote areas. The moment some got there, the politicians paid them, bribed them. That's just the truth. They bribed them with some money, because if they did not even accept it in the first instance, they can kill them there. So those ones, in order to protect their lives and at the same time to still have something to show for it, they just released everything to them. That is an electoral malpractices. When the voting time supposed to end, they were still voting, because those ones, the politicians had come with rigged number of voters card, and they were just voting, thumb printing left, right and center, pretending as if it were people that came to vote. This is also electoral malpractices. A lot of things that people do, that it will be like, oh, what is this? This is ungodly, but they did not see it as ungodly. It is electoral malpractices. Let's look at another ways of doing electoral malpractices. This is the use of force and threat. Like I said, some officials that were posted to rural areas, they will threaten them. It's either you take money or you get killed. And there is nowhere you can run to. You kind of fear for your life, and though it's not right, but out of threat, out of force, people are being forced to do rigging, to do electoral malpractices. Let's look at the example of the chaos that were being caused during election. All these are electoral malpractices that people are doing that is not okay. When they do this, they will steal the boxes and run away with it, to go and fix it, to make what they intend to do, and at the end of the day, they will still come back and present it as normal voting. Another one is campaign during election. There are do's and don'ts that the INEC have given the political parties and their candidates not to do. Most especially during election, you can campaign before the election date, but during election, you don't campaign. And there are so many things that you do that you can do to campaign on election. It's not by talking. Like this man that was not given the opportunity to rule the country, MKO Abiola, Kashimawo Moshood Abiola, when he was being voted for that time, he was being disqualified. One of the reasons, out of many others, was that he wore an agbada that has the logo of his party, which is an us, to show that they should vote for us logo and the name of the party then. So the campaign during election is not allowed, is prohibited. It, okay, another thing is at the polling unit or the collation center, when you get there, you now wear something that would, campaign for your party is prohibited. They don't take it. It is an offense. Another one is bribery and corruption. Bribery and corruption is a way of electoral malpractices, and it is mostly used by most of the political parties. What did they do? They give money to the electoral officials. They give gift items. They give valuable items. They give considerations or employment in exchange of citizens' votes during election. They might even come to a candidate that we want you to step down. We will give you an employment or a contract that would earn you a lifetime earnings. And they give gifts. You see them sharing rice, sharing umbrellas, sharing different food items, money, and so on and so forth, just to entice people, so that the people will think, this one will take care of us when they get to power, not knowing that this one will first of all get back his money when he or she gets to power, before he will even remember them along the line. So these are the things that. Another one is multiple registration of voter. At times, voters vote more than once. There are so many ghost names that they use to do registration, so that they can have so many voters cards that they will use to rig the election. All these are electoral malpractices. In the ideal setting of voting, the voters are supposed to be on queue. They are supposed to be well organized. They are supposed to be orderly. See, you can see them, so many people at the same time. These are all electoral malpractices. So we must ensure that electoral malpractices is not encouraged in the country by all means. So today, we have treated the electoral malpractices to see it as unapproved behavior during the election, and ways of electoral malpractices. It can be through impersonation, it can be through extension of voting. Impersonation is when you use another person's voter's card to vote, pretending to be that person. It is impersonation. Extension of voting periods. Voting is supposed to stop by 4. By 10 o'clock, they are still voting. 10 o'clock at the night, they are still voting. That is extension. This is high rate of electoral malpractices. Then, when you use force or threats on the officials, when you threaten the electoral officials to rig election, is another form of electoral malpractices. Example of those that are doing malpractices: when you campaign during election, it is prohibited, it is unacceptable it is electoral malpractices, and it is an offence in the electoral processes. Bribery and corruption is another way that the politicians and the political parties use to collect people's votes. They give them money, they give them valuable things, they give them considerations, they give them employment, they promise them heaven on earth. And at the end of the day, they would first of all siphon money into their own pockets before they will remember to do whatever they promised the electorate even during campaign officially. These are Then the next one is the multiple registration of voters, whereby ghost voters will be registering so that they can use it to rig election. All these are ways by which electoral malpractices can be done. We have come to the end of this lesson. You can get the notes on the website. It has been uploaded on the website. Not only that, you can as well use fundamental civic education that is being written by AS Akinyemi to do more research on the learning. Before we meet next week, stay safe and God bless you. Be a good ambassador